All right, we are back. Welcome back, fellas.
What up?
Episode 4 of the BassHead podcast. How's it going?
It's good.
Pretty good.
It's beautiful out. It's gonna be warm this weekend, but it's beautiful out right now.
Yeah, opener has come and gone, and it was a good one. I feel like it was a good one.
Yeah.
It's
It,
weird.
yeah, it was weird. Like that, like we talked about the water change and everything. It spun me out for a few hours, and then I had to
Right.
refigure some stuff out. But
Yeah.
it was
So yeah, for everybody listening, actually, all three of us were in 3 different groups that went up to Mille Lacs for opener, and I went up there the Friday before opener, got off work a little bit early, and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go put the boat in. It's been gorgeous all week. Um, go check some of my spring spots and just put active target down and see if I can see anything." Put in, and immediately, like, water temperature is 55 degrees, and my eyes are just like, this is it's gonna explode. This is gonna be a crazy opener. Pull up to my first spot. Didn't see much. Didn't stay there long. Pull up to another spot, and the water temperature read 57 and a half. And there were fish everywhere on active target. I mean, I've never seen anything like that on Mille Lacs before. And I'm sitting in like 5 feet of water, and every direction I scan, there were fish. I mean, like hundreds of them there. And, my eyes are just getting bigger and bigger. And I'm like, this is about to go down tomorrow. So I didn't even go check any other spots. Went right back, loaded up. I was like, all right, I'm going to get back early, and I'm going to drink a couple beers and get excited for the morning. And we were all talking about it that night. We're all jacked up. Get on the water, get to the first spot. The water temperatures are 45 and a half degrees.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't rain the night before. There wasn't like a crazy cold front that blew in. It was the craziest, like, condition change, like water temperature change I had ever experienced before. We lost Nick.
I was just about to say he's either doing a really good job of like being
Right.
still, or he glitched. So
We lost him.
dial
Either way.
No, I had the same thing. I feel like I did the same exact thing you did. I probably spent like 3 or 4 hours out there, something like that. But I did the same thing. It was Dominic and myself and my dad, and there he is. And
Let me guess. I missed you talking about all the smallmouth you held up that were caught by other people, right?
Yeah, no, I was talking about
Tony gave away all his waypoints, so sorry.
no, the day before, how I was scanning, and they were just everywhere. And then the morning of, like, water temperatures dropped 12 degrees without a storm coming in, without a cold front coming in. I think the winds just switched out of the east and pretty much blew all, and I was fishing the east side, blew all that warm water out of there. And
I'm just giving you crap. You had a great opener.
I did, but like Brent said, it spun him out for the first couple hours, and we caught some fish in the first couple hours, but it definitely wasn't what I was expecting. And we just kept saying to each other, what the heck happened that it changed that dramatically?
Yeah,
and it was. I knew it was like the water. We lost ice like 8, 9, 10 days before, right?
Right.
And I knew that there's no way that the water column could be in the 50s. I'm like, this is kind of weird. So I kind of had this feeling like it was kind of a fragile 50 degrees. And sure as heck, like you said, the wind switched, and it might have been a detriment to go out there the day before, because like I was like, I have video on my active target of like just pods of fish. I'm like, oh my God, this is, like you said, it's just going to be nuts. And then you get there and it's like, oh, and then you're like, the next one, they're going to be at the next one. And I went to like 6 different deals and they didn't happen. I'm like, okay, we got to start over. So,
yeah. Right. You figured them out. And the jerk bait bite that first morning was on fire. Once we found out where they were, they kind of pushed off a little bit. But it was a good opener. A lot of fish, a lot of big ones, a lot of 4-pounders. Like, the amount of 4-pounders in that lake is just unbelievable. It's incredible. And
I might as well be on a walleye podcast though, because I couldn't keep those things off my line. It was on a hair jig, of all things.
Yeah,
And
they weren't eating that. They weren't eating the hair yet.
No, they were. Well, the walleye were for sure, but yeah, I jumped in the boat with arguably one of the best smallmouth fishermen in the state. Chappie and his partner Garfield, and it was a struggle for us. I mean, we got some smallmouth, but man, we were on the walleye. There's no doubt about that. But
well, he's arguably the best smallie fisherman in the state if he doesn't go to bed at 5:45 a.m. the morning of going out to fish.
Yep. I was telling you guys, I texted you on the way up. I left my house at 5:45, and he had called me at 4:30 going to bed. And so he may have gotten 2 hours, but I think that's where he actually, may actually fish better. But
yeah. But it was a good opener. I haven't even really attempted for green ones yet around here, so I'm not. I just got Mille Lacs on my mind. I went back up there again after opener and ended up smashing my PB with a 6.6, which was freaking awesome. Being able to get it on a crankbait too. Like Chase was with me. He got a couple on like a little shallow diving crankbait, and I was like, oh, I bet you off to the edge of where we were fishing, they'd eat a rock crawler. And I caught like 3 in a row on it, and then I bombed a cast out deep, and it was like 3 cranks in. And the rod loaded up, and I look at Chase, and I'm like, that is a big one. Like it was like that immediate hook set into a giant where it's big. And ended up netting it, and I had no idea it was that big. And then I held it up.
You never really know. They're so built out there,
Well, and this one,
you're just always surprised.
Right.
It seems like
this one was weird though. Like it was long and just thick all the way. It didn't have like the typical like pre-spawn Mille Lacs football belly on it. It was just thick all the way through, and then the scale it was bouncing between like 6.4 and 6.10. And then it landed on 6.6, and I was like, I'll keep it. That's what I'll take a 6.6.
Either way, it's your PB.
It was my PB, which was awesome. And I don't know if you guys saw, but Chase went back up there yesterday with a buddy, and he stuck a 6.10.
Jeez.
It's an absolute giant. And he had caught his PB with me the previous week that ended up being 5.4 was his previous PB. So really? He had never caught a 5-pounder, or his personal best was like 5 pounds even or something like that. Wow. And he got a 5.3 or 5.4. And then awesome. He just skips to a 6.10.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Mille Lacs is all about.
Right.
It's where PBs are broken over and over again.
Right.
I'm still searching for something in that 6.6 to 6.10 class, but right. There's no doubt it'll come someday.
Oh yeah. You put the time in, there's so many 6-pounders out there. It's insane.
Yeah. Awesome.
Have you guys been out for green ones yet? Around the metro at all?
I just jumped out on my lake. I'm in a little small lake, or on a small lake here in Maple Grove, but it's just a few hour session. They were on beds, so I tend to not touch them when they're on beds on my lake. Just let them do their thing. Sure. But got a few actually on a frog, which is fun.
All right. I suppose they're probably in all stages right now. You can probably find some pre-spawn, some spawners, and some that are probably already done already.
Yeah. There's just an obvious creek that I went back to, and again, I saw a bunch on beds I wasn't going to touch, but I knew there were some females around there as well. So what's better than throwing a frog, right. Getting that explosion. Absolutely. So got a few of those and let the rest be.
Yep, for sure. Well, jumping into our first segment, we actually have the winners of the first Minnesota Team Trail Bass event down on the river in Winona.
Brent lost audio.
We lost Brent.
He lost audio. He's gonna.
He lost us out. Anyway, we have the winners of the first Team Trail event. We have Wyatt and Cory that are gonna join us and kind of break down what they did and how they did it. From a lot of people I had talked to, and saw videos of and messages. Like it was like the river was fishing tough for the guys that couldn't figure it out, because usually river fishing in the spring is, pretty dang decent. You can figure them out, but with, flooding the way we had it and all those condition changes, I mean, I heard it was an absolute grinder. But we're going to bring those guys in now and see what kind of details they give us. All right.
What's up, guys?
There we go. What's going on, fellas?
How you doing, boys? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. It was awesome day.
Yeah, let's talk about like practice first. Did you guys spend a lot of time practicing? I know you guys are kind of both known as river rats, so you guys kind of know the areas pretty well, but I feel like with the conditions this spring, with the high water and the flooding, I feel like that could just completely throw things off for the people that already do know the river quite well.
It moved those fish around so darn much. I was actually on 4 today and fished an area that should have been plumb full of them for the last month, and I think those fish just went elsewhere. The current was so high that they were unable to be where they should have been, and they don't know what ends up right now still, I think. And that kind of held true with what happened through the tournament, but I don't know. I honestly didn't bass fish a tenth as much as I would in a normal year. We went right from walleye fishing to this tournament. We had 3 days to practice, so I was totally lost going into it. I don't know about Wyatt.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we are kind of, we're from the area, so we do know the typical areas where your fish are going to be this time of the year and what stage of the spawn and everything they're going to be in. But with this flood that we had, it threw everything off. And the areas that, I was fishing in practice, a lot of them that should have been absolutely loaded were, I'd go in and not get a bite, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, some of my best stuff was completely dry of fish, and it definitely made it very tough. It was not like going into it knowing we got this at all by any means. We could have easily came in with 11 or 12 pounds, just as easily as what we ended up catching. So it was a tough deal for sure.
Did you know right away, like going in and starting practice, that smallmouth were going to be the deal?
No, I don't think so. I mean, typically I think Cory the same. We both usually prefer to fish for smallmouth, but I put just as much time into looking for largemouth as I did smallmouth, because the smallmouth weren't showing. Like I said, they weren't showing up in the areas where I was assuming they would be, and so we kind of had to dish out a lot of time to both.
Sure. Did you guys dial it in by the end of practice though? And we're like, no, you're just like, this is where I got a few fish, so I'm gonna go with that, and that's what you work with.
I'm gonna take this one. Wyatt absolutely nailed practice. I had boat problems, and then I had St. Jude benefit on Friday, so I didn't get practice that day. Wyatt definitely carried us through practice, and you had a pretty good practice, really, I'd say. But mine was terrible. And I know I stayed with Bart, and I think I was lying to him those 3 days, but it was not easy for my boat.
So you kind of had a general area of where you were going to start, confidence going into the tournament. What was that like?
I mean, like you said, I had one real good day of practice. I had probably 18 pounds or so, and on like Friday it was. Thursday was pretty bad. Saturday was okay, but not great. And, we kind of we'd been talking back and forth all day, the day before and everything like that. And, we had a little bit of a game plan, but some of the fish that I had found on 6, I assumed people were going to find them. And we probably weren't going to get to start where we initially wanted to, which is what happened. And so we kind of just flew by the seat of our pants. I had we had a little milk run of spots we wanted to go to. And we kind of just hit the closest one and just worked through them from there.
So
Probably more
than
so technique that really set you apart, or a pattern that you were following, or
we caught fish.
I don't know how into the weeds you want to get again, but like we talked about, but what was that like? What was your attack?
We started on current with the first 2 spots, Wyatt?
Yep.
Then you had one you thought was on a bed. And we got one off each of those first 2 spots. And actually the second one that we put in the box, second decent one we put in the box, I had a little 10-inch smallmouth chasing my bait or largemouth hook. And I said, "Oh my God, Wyatt, look at the one chasing it." And he dropped his bait in and caught it. And it was like a 200-pounder. I was like, "Oh man, that never happens right under the boat on spot lock and heavy current." Right. So that's our day.
And the craziest part about it was I wasn't sitting there holding the bait. I had just casted out a long cast, and when that fish followed his fish to the boat, so it sat there and waited by his for as long as it took for me to burn in that long cast and got it back, and the thing was still sitting there. I just dropped in it, came up and sucked it in. I just scooped it right to the boat.
Yeah, meant to be then, huh?
Yeah, doesn't happen very often, especially in a tournament.
No.
So water obviously high. Did it affect not only the stage the fish were in? Did it affect water temp? Are those fish moving a lot faster right now than they typically would be trying to catch up?
I think they were moving lightning speed myself. I mean, even for the river. I mean, typically those fish don't stick around like they do on a lake. Right. It's a couple days, and then the next wave comes, and I think it was even going maybe a little faster than that. I know I talked to I think it was Pellegrin telling me he had 2 absolute giants on beds side by side on Thursday or Friday, whatever it was, and they were gone. And that's just everybody talked to. "Oh, I had this, I had that," and then they were gone. And we had the same thing too. And we kind of ran out of ideas towards the end of the day, and it was just, let's go fishing, and it's kind of what we ended up doing.
Nice.
And you guys had just over 18 pounds, 18 and a half. Were they all brown ones?
One large.
No, Cory had one big largemouth he got in the afternoon.
My favorite largemouth spot on earth, Wyatt.
Yep, you caught one there before.
So I never catch largemouth. That's how our day went. We'd been on some spawning smallmouth, and there's a bay right there, and I said, I caught a largemouth there last year. It's my favorite largemouth spot on.
Your favorite and only? It sounds like.
What was it, Wyatt? 3.8 or 3.9, something like that.
Yeah, it was close to 4, so it was a good one.
Nice.
Looking at the clouds, and there it was.
That's awesome.
So with the areas that you guys were fishing, did you guys have a lot of company? Was there a lot of people around you? Or not?
Yes and no. The couple of a few spots like where we started and whatnot, we were kind of off on our own. Later in the day, kind of when we started running out of ideas, we started kind of grouping up in more of those community areas where there's been a lot of boats going through, and we still ended up catching. We had made a late day call right where multiple boats had just been through, but so it was kind of back and forth. Some of the day we were all by ourselves, and some of the day we were right in the middle of the pack with everybody else.
Sure. I know Nick had said there wasn't one key bait, or is there a certain bait that you guys were able to?
I think we caught a fish that we weighed on 5 different baits.
Sweet. That's how I like to fish.
Yeah. Tube and a Senko and a Carolina rig.
So the deck of your boat looks like Brian Thrifts.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how there wasn't at least one broken rod.
That's awesome. So just junk fishing, just fish in the moment, huh?
Pretty much, yeah. That's
nice.
That's kind of how I prefer to fish. A lot of the time is just fish the moment kind of deal, like you hear, and just have a ton of rods in my deck. I don't care how dialed in I am on anything. I will never go to a tournament with like 1 or 2 rods in my deck. I'll have at least 7, 8, 9 of them because I know at some point or another I'm just be junking around, and that's kind of what we did.
That's the
that
river rat
sounds-
in you,
yeah.
though, right?
Yeah, I
Right.
think that's what it is.
Sounds like a fun day. For the people that are listening that maybe don't know you guys as well, maybe I'll just start with Cory. Just give a background. I mean, both of you guys are known as river rats. I mean, you guys have won quite a bit of money fishing the river.
You know the total between the two? How much you won on the river?
Yeah.
A lot more on Cory's side, I can tell you that.
It's a team. It counts. You're fine.
Yeah. So maybe just give a background, Cory, on how you started on the river and what drew you to the river and becoming, a river rat for the most part.
So I did that thing on your Facebook page the other day, and I grew up trout fishing. We never had a boat or anything growing up, but my grandpa was a river rat. He trapped and ran trot lines, and he lived on the river, so I got to spend a week with him every summer, and that's kind of what put the Mississippi in my blood, I guess. And out of high school, having pretty much just trout fished my whole life, my really good buddy Andy Bylander got into bass fishing, and a lot of people probably know him. He's a sales rep for Sports Specialist now, but anyway, we'd go day trip to Hayward from River Falls, like 2.5 hours. Gas was 99 cents a gallon, and whatever. We fished every day, and then eventually we started fishing tournaments in Northwest Wisconsin, and then all over Wisconsin, and it's like, kind of like this, but all the big tournaments go to the river. And in about 2011, I really set my sights on the Mississippi. And I was fortunate enough to fish with a guy named Mike Mattis that a lot of people listening probably know. And he showed me the ropes down there, and I guess I've kind of stuck with it since then. But yeah.
Yeah, it's for the people that don't fish it, it's an intimidating place to fish. And, it's big. It's got, there's a lot of dead water, so I feel like it does take a long time to be able to figure it out. Cause I remember when I first moved here from South Dakota, not having a bass season, the only thing I could do was go fish pool too. And little intimidating at first, cause never fished current before, never had a boat in current before. Went down to the south end on pool two and just start heading towards a backwater that I saw on my GPS map, and I'm full bore. And then all of a sudden it's just like, I'm in a foot of water and it's all mud. And it's just like, I hadn't even started. It was, I had just got onto the entryway of this backwater, and the whole thing was a foot of mud, and that's all it was. And I motor up and trim out of there, and I was just like, holy crap, I can't just look at a map and go Baja into this place.
But that's an example of why, like, the true river fishermen always are at the top of the standings in these events, is because it is intimidating. We spend most of our time on the local lakes. We don't put our time in the river, and that's where guys like Cory and Wyatt go out there, and they tend to excel almost every time out on the river.
Even when I'm on the river, I spend most of my time idling, whereas these guys just
exactly.
That's just it. I mean,
where to run.
But that's what I love about the river is and I don't fish it much at all, but every corner it's like, look what's back here, look what's back here. But you can waste a day easily, multiple days, just idling and looking, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's like it's 4 o'clock. I got to go in, right? It is crazy the amount of dead water there and the amount of time you can spend looking and snooping. Whereas where you guys have that ability to, the preconceived, and I caught them here last week, or they should be there, right? Whereas a lot of those guys just found them here and they don't know where they came from or where they're going. So that's a huge attribute.
The getting around is definitely the hardest part to learning any new pool.
Yeah.
And like you say, you waste half your day just idling into these places. And once you do that a few times and you know how to run in, now next time your practice goes that much quicker.
Right. Yeah, I remember I fished one of the Judes with Brian Brown, And we're going back into this cut, and he was driving, and he is crazy. If anybody ever rode a boat with him, but like I could have stuck my hand out and hit a tree. I'm like, all right, here we go. And like it just freaked me out, and I'm like, what are we doing? But it worked out great. We did fine, but it was crazy, just the ability, and you guys have that confidence and the knowledge, like I can run this, we're fine. Whereas everybody else is like, no, I don't think I can. Like Tony would run into a foot of mud. Right? Yeah. Yep.
So if we end up having the BassHeads Derby down on the river, you guys gonna try to get in?
Oh, you know it.
Bart's been pushing for the tournament to be on the river.
I know he has been. He's told me about it, dude. I mean, it would be sweet, like regardless of it being in our favor, just because we're from around here. Like it would be a heck of an awesome tournament because that time of year, I mean, the river fish is phenomenal, and
anybody
cool place.
Right.
What is your guys from the whole river? What's your guys' favorite pool? Just to, like, and you don't have to, like, obviously, like whatever, but 4.
6 is my favorite for sure. Yeah.
That's cool. And I mean, I think if you asked 100 people, you'd get a lot of different. I mean, it'd be pretty well balanced, right? It'd be 25% across the board almost, right? So.
Right, for sure. Awesome. Well, Wyatt, why don't you give a little background of how you kind of became a river rat?
So where I kind of grew up, went through high school, middle school, it was Sauk City, Wisconsin, which is right on the Wisconsin River over by kind of just west of Madison. And, you know, that's similar, but more of a real river. It's smaller and shallower, a lot more rock and sand and shallow, yada, yada. But anyway, my dad, he was a hardcore tournament angler back in the day and fished a lot on the river. And we started, when I got to probably, I don't know, freshman in high school or something, we started coming over to the MSBC tournaments out of La Crosse and fishing those every year. And I fell in love with the river immediately. I loved it, you know, everything about it. I liked from just catching the numbers of fish that they have to like you're talking about, all the sketchy running around and learning how to figure out how to get around. It was, you know, it's such a diverse fishery and just a crazy place to put a boat in the water. And from there I ended up going to college here in Winona and jumped on their fishing team and, you know, ended up graduating college, getting a job here, and never left because I didn't want to leave the river. So,
sure. That's awesome. And you got a river boat, right?
Yeah. I just sold my old one, and I just got a new to me one that I bought from Cory here, his old flat. It's just a 17.5 foot Miracraft with a 60 horse on it that isn't afraid to hit some
jump some sandbars or some dams. You Keith Pochet it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Seen some things and done some stuff. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Have you guys, by the way, just a little side note here that Major League Fishing, I don't know if you saw, but they uploaded a video. It's like a 2 or 3 minute video of a drone over Keith Pochet's trip in this back canal or whatever. It is insane. There's just deadheads everywhere, laydowns, whatnot, and he's ripping over all of them. Oh yeah, barely stops.
They played that strategy real well with the crap Pochet has dealt with recently. I think they said something about nothing. It's something about Keith Pochet can go anywhere.
Let me pull it up here because it's on Instagram. It's like wherever Keith Pochet wants to go, he'll go at any time, something like that. But it was a fun watch. I would highly recommend it because, man, that guy's got balls. Like, at any second, he could be out of the tournament with the lower unit gone, and he just doesn't give a crap at all.
I mean, his boat goes like 20 miles an hour, so it's not going to do anything.
Have you guys, speaking of that, kind of what he does and jumps into all these little backwaters, have you guys ever found like an absolute sweet backwater that a small boat could only get into and was loaded with fish?
I was in one last night.
Really?
Of course you did.
Yeah. No, I got in there a little too late, but yeah, I mean, there's places you can do that where a bass boat isn't going to get over the logs you got to get over to get into some of these places, especially now with the river being high like the way it is. Those fish will sometimes get back into, little tiny pockets, swim. They'll go over what's normally dry land to get back into some of these places, and a small boat can definitely benefit you in those scenarios.
See, that's what interests me. That sounds like a ton of fun. I fish a little small river. Every once in a while, there'll be derbies up on like Pokegama Cross Lake with the Snake River. And that river system's fun. Like that has really good largemouth in it. And, there's spots on that river that I've fished it enough that I know there will be fish there. There's like points that have little cuts on them. So, it's 1.5 foot of water here, but because of the current, there's a little dugout right off a point. And there's always a fish or two sitting right there. But stuff like that, I mean, that's fun fishing. That's what would interest me about fishing the river a little bit more. But, the Mississippi's a different beast. That's a time commitment and a lot more water. So I applaud you guys for spending so much time out there and sticking with it.
At the same time, Tony, not to interrupt, but current is current. And recognizing what you're seeing on those points with the little dugouts, that applies everywhere.
Right.
Current dugouts, that's what me growing up trout fishing. It took 5 to 8 years of fishing the Mississippi regularly to realize that fishing the Mississippi is just like trout fishing, but in boat and a lot bigger river. Current seems act the same way. They do the same thing.
Yeah. I'll try to spend some more time out there if I can get myself off the regular lakes around here. No, Brent's like, no chance.
No, I mean, when you're going up to Mille Lacs and whatnot all the time, going and catching 20 pounds in half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's hard to get away from that. I understand that.
It is. But at the same time, it's the way you catch fish in the river and the habitat. You go to the lakes around here and it's just like, endless weed lines and docks and stuff. But being able to get on the river and seeing something different is why I go up to like Pokegama and the Snake and stuff like that, because it gets me away from what I normally do. And it's a lot of fun to fish because, typically up there, it's a frog and a jig. That's all I need out on my deck at all times up there. And it is an absolute blast.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds fun.
How much do you guys utilize like a traditional map chip versus Google Earth? Do you use Google Earth a lot more than a map chip, or is it half and half kind of deal?
Depends on time of year for me. Like, big time. If I'm trying to fish wing dams, obviously I'm going to use a map chip. And we were using our electronics a lot more. If you're trying to get into a little hidden bay, Google Earth obviously is more beneficial. You're trying to find that ditch and the duckweed or the weeds, and I don't know. Wyatt?
Yeah. Pretty much what you said, you nailed it on the head. Google Earth will also come really in handy with fishing sand drops. You can find you can find those sand drops for one a lot of times, and you can also find kind of what should be the sweet spot on them using Google Earth a lot of the times. Not all the time, but a lot of the time you can kind of see how they run and how they set up. But it's kind of a 50-50 deal depending on time of year and what you're doing.
Right.
Sure.
So are you guys for, or you don't have a choice, right? But for or against St. Jude being in the fall? Would you rather fish it in May, or are you good? You're totally good with it being in the fall.
I'm good with October. I don't know about Cory.
Well, I like the last fall one. Okay.
But you like the other 2 spring ones too.
No, it is what it is. They made the decision. I'm on the committee, I guess, and it was the right call, 110%. We honestly did not have one call from anybody being negative about it. We should have fished it. Anybody that drove through those towns, Wyatt, obviously you live in Winona. There's no way we could have had that tournament, and it is what it is. We'll fish in the fall.
Yeah, the original ramp that this MNBN was supposed to be out of, if you drive down there now, which a lot of these guys now did see it, it is gone. It was like a little peninsula that goes out into the main channel of the river. That was completely, when it at normal pool, it's 8 feet out of the water, but it was, 4 feet under the water or something like that. And it is completely gone. There's still a little hump that kind of comes off the bank there, but all the gravel's gone. All you can see is the concrete slabs of the ramp and all the river rock that was under the concrete or the gravel pad over the top. They got a lot of cleaning up to do around here. So it was definitely the right call to cancel and reschedule that tournament. It's the same with this one. There was just no way it would have worked.
Right. That was going to kind of bring me into my next topic, actually. Cory, I know you're on the board, so I thought you'd be good to get a little background to the St. Judes. I know you fished it a little bit, and it's such a good tournament for such a great cause. And this is like the 25th anniversary of it. So I don't know if you want to just tell the viewers, people that are watching, what it's all about in case, people aren't aware of what it's for.
Yeah, so if you're not aware, we fished this tournament 25 years, like Tony said, out of Wabasha. It started actually up out of the casino in Red Wing, and it moved to Lake City and then to Wabasha. And the whole point of the tournament is to raise money for the kids of St. Jude's and families. And I think we're somewhere around 5 million. Don't quote me on that. I didn't do my homework prior to this, but this year, 1 year, we're hoping to raise $1 million, and we're darn close right now. It is the most unbelievable event you could imagine being involved in. You sit through one of the banquets, which I think Wyatt got his first one last year. It's life-changing, man. Like, you want to be a part of that. And I really encourage anybody out there to get involved. You have to raise $500 to fish, and that is so easy to do. But just do it. Show up. It doesn't matter if you want to go down there to win. We all want to go down there to win, but you did something really good at the end of the day. Whether you raised $500 or $100,000, you did something to help those kids. And I think the more people are around there, you get hooked. It's really a cool event.
Yeah, I was actually on the phone with Ross Evans.
Yeah, good friend of mine too.
Yeah. Before this got canceled, he had called me up talking about it a little bit, and he was just because I wanted to fish it, but I got obligations. But unfortunately, I have obligations both weekends already. 1 year I'll be able to fish it for sure. And he was telling me how the first time he went in it, like a normal tournament, you get in it, you're all jacked up to kind of win. And then the banquet comes, or the video of all these kids that you're helping out. And he kind of just sat back and was like, this is so much bigger than a tournament. This isn't about winning or anything like that. This is about going out, raising money for these kids that need it and having a good time doing it, Yep. So I'm really hoping maybe next year I can jump into it, but I'll promote the hell out of it if I can. That's for sure.
We appreciate you. I know you've done a bunch already, and I talked to Gretchen a fair amount about it, and she sees you. So
yeah, that's perfect. That's the best way to reach out to some outdoorsmen, right? Is, do a fundraiser and.
How brilliant to turn. So the fundraising, for those of you that don't know, the fundraising bases your takeoff number. The top fundraiser goes out first and down the line. And you take a group of extremely competitive people,
right,
and make fundraising a contest. And I remember the first year I fished, like $500 is a lot of money if you raised it. Now, like, it's turned into an unbelievable fundraiser for that hospital.
Yeah, if you raise $500, you're going to be one of the last boats out if that's all you raise.
Exactly.
Which is that's still amazing for the people. $500 is awesome. So
every dollar counts. It does.
But do you know what the most raised by one team has ever been?
I think Jamie do 160 last year, Wyatt?
And Lonnie?
Jamie and Lonnie.
Yeah, I think it was 163-ish, 155, somewhere in there.
I think
It was a ridiculous amount.
it's like 140 this year. They did again. I mean,
How does that even happen? They got connections, man.
they do a one night banquet.
Sure.
They're selling hunts and raffling hunts and guns. I mean, his gun list is unbelievable, and that really kicked all of the rest of us in the pants. And you look at
Sure.
Wyatt, right? Wyatt, what did you guys last year? Was your first year? You raised 10,000.
I think we had like almost 9 last year.
Yeah.
I think we're up to close to 12 this year. I believe something like that.
That's
That's
awesome. Who are you fishing with, Wyatt?
Good buddy of mine, Sean Bergsrud. He's on the page as well. I'm in the BassHeads page and everything. Just a local guy here in Winona.
Okay.
In our club we have been doing the bass taxi for this tournament. You know, for at least as long as I've been around Winona, at least I believe. And I came to work it and help out with the bass taxi for like 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row. And that's after the point I've become friends with Cory and his partner Brian and all that. And me and Sean were kind of running it the one year, and it was like, why the heck are we not fishing this?
Right.
And he's like, we're driving a load of bass out back into the river, and he's like, you want to do it next year? I'm like, heck yeah, dude, let's do it. And we just jumped in full steam ahead, and we had an event at a local place here, and it worked out amazing. And the brothel bar here in Fountain City, they helped us out a ton. And yeah, like Cory said, just it's really not hard. People are more than willing to donate to this cause. I've had so many people after the second year now just coming up and asking if they can donate. They don't even care about if we have any kind of raffles or anything like that. They just want to be like, hey, I like to donate to St. Jude. I do it every year. Can if it helps you out as well, I'll donate through you. I mean, $500 is not a hard amount of money to raise for that cause. So it's really an awesome tournament to get into.
Yeah, I was gonna ask because that's not a small dollar amount right there, 9,000. What is your strategy? Is it all just conversation, social media, door knocking? I mean, to what extent do you go to get that amount? That's a quite
so. We have a place in Fountain City. It's a little bar. It's actually called the Brothel. It's a fun little bar up on the ridge above Fountain City.
That one,
but
right?
I've been hanging out around there since they got started 6-7 years ago or something, and they do a bunch of events. They do a Hunts for Heroes event, a bunch of fundraising type events there, and do a really great job of it. And I asked them if they'd be interested in doing it with us, and they were all for it. So we had now we just had our second event this past spring here about a month or so ago. And we just do a bunch of games, gun raffles. We go around, we hang up flyers to let everybody know what's going on, and the turnouts have been incredible.
That's awesome.
And you get to say you spent $1,000 at a brothel. I mean,
right? Exactly.
So show your wife the receipt, and you'll be fine.
Right.
There we go.
That's awesome.
Well, that's awesome. We're going to kind of wrap up this section of the podcast, but I really appreciate you guys jumping on, giving us some detail on the river, and congratulations, you guys. That's a huge win. That team trail is
stacked,
loaded with some of the best anglers in the state, and you guys got the first W. That's a good. I mean, if you don't get another win,
by a pound and a half, right? Good. I mean, you won by a pound and a half. That's incredible. Right. Over a stick and Willard and Jared, both of them are sticks, but quite the accomplishment.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, we really appreciate it. It was, like we said, everything fell into place on Sunday and just worked out, and it was an amazing day.
Very, very fortunate.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for joining us again.
Thanks for having us.
Good luck the rest of the year.
Get another win, and we'll have you back on.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm gonna try.
All right, we'll see you later, guys. Have a good night.
You too. Yeah, we'll see you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
That was awesome. Yeah.
I haven't been on the river in years, but man, it's like I said, every time you turn the corner, you're like, oh, this is it. this is where they all live, and then nothing. Like the next corner, like this is it. Then it's crazy how many cool looking areas there are, and it's a strategy. You did, and it's really a pattern deal too. A lot of lakes are too, but you find these. I know when we fished, we had to find stuff with a true end to it, right? We couldn't find stuff that current. It's just finding stuff like that, and you can really pattern it. So it's a super fun place to fish.
Yeah, I do wish it. Like I said, it's intimidating for me. I don't know if it should be or not. It's just in my head that it's intimidating, but man, it does look fun. Some of it, even like lacrosse area where the elites go and some of that, it's like some of the best frog fishing in the US,
Right.
I should spend more time out there, but I don't. And who knows if I will.
Guys,
we will have a BassHeads there.
Yeah, we will have a BassHeads there.
Have
I feel like we should. Absolutely. Especially in the fall.
I was going to say, I remember that Elite Series on lacrosse where it was flooded and it was, a frogging tournament. And I believe, I forget who it was, but they were throwing a frog almost up on the bank to like an RV park. They're like almost hitting RVs. It's just like a flooded timber area. It just looked like heaven. And man, I just don't even think about going out there enough. But
well, it's a drive too. That's the hard part is we have,
for sure,
especially around the cities, we have so many good lakes with such a good number of 3 to 5 pound fish. It's hard to leave and go and fish the river. But like I said, it just gives you something a little different to go fish, which is a nice change of pace. That's why I like going back to South Dakota too, is like, I get so sick of fishing weeds and stuff in some of these lakes up here. You go to South Dakota to some of these small lakes and you flip timber all day. And it's just a nice change of pace to do something a little bit different.
For sure.
The other thing I was going to bring up, thought we'd kind of bring in what, Nick brought up, what's kind of going on in his lake. I just wanted to see at this time of year, this is where it starts getting tough. I feel like there's a stretch of time between, the spawn and post spawn where a lot of guys struggle. And I'm one of them. Between right when June starts till the end of June, July starts, there is that month stretch that can be an absolute grinder.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those guys that struggled during this time period, but there are guys that excel during this time period that can find those post-spawn big girls, know where they're at, know what they want to eat, and put a good bag in the boat. I'm not one of them, but let's get your guys' insight. Nick, I don't know how would you target the late spawn post spawn period on some of the lakes around here?
Yeah, so what I tend to do is post spawn. I always, kind of think of what the females are doing. They're laying their eggs, they're there for maybe a day or two, and then they're going to move to cover. But they're also hungry as could be, right? They want to, they lost all that weight. They want to feed back up. So I tend to, go towards shallow cover docks, cattails on my lake. I have quite a bit of cattails laydowns, things like that. I'll throw my two favorite probably post-spawn baits would be, I like downsizing to, more of a subtle wacky rig under docks, just something that's tantalizing that'll kind of stay in that strike zone, fish it really slow. But then something about a frog, man, I don't know. It's just something they seem to not be able to resist. So I downsize my rod. I like to throw a 7-foot to a 7.3. And I'll throw it under docks with 30 to 40 pound braid, just downsize everything on it. It's not like my mat frog fishing setup. Nice popping frog. I like the Spro popping frog, but pop that thing once, let it sit there, just let that boil kind of dissipate, and then pop it again. Just fish real slow. Just have that confidence that they're there. That tends to work pretty well. I think we all would agree it's tougher times, but those are probably the two baits I'd go with
And I think it's funny because one of those baits is the one that I do not want to throw at all. I do not want to put a wacky rig Senko in my hand at all.
They can't resist it, though.
I know. And that's the hard part. And that's where I think I struggle is like, I don't want to be shallow. I want those fish to be out in the summer, weed lines.
I'm with you.
And I just, casting that Senko out and just letting it sit there is just mind numbing to me.
Yeah.
But that's probably why I struggle. And, the guys I talk to that do well, they're throwing that wacky rig Senko. They're throwing that Supreme bait slug that Supreme came out with. And they're just letting it, they're soaking it. And they're getting big girls. They're just going to eat it. And I'm just like, I gotta, like the night when I know it's post spawn, I need to have like 3 rods on my deck and that's it. Just to get myself to force myself to use just those rods. Because this time of year, I remember last year, I went from once opener was over with until like the end of June, I did not have a 4-pound fish in the boat. And my mind was blown. Like, I'm like, how can I not have a 4-pound fish in the boat? I mean, and it was even hard getting like a good size 3 for me. I was getting small ones, because I'm throwing a jig, I'm throwing a chatterbait, trying to force them to eat what I want them to eat. And it's not happening. And I'm just like, God damn it. I should probably throw that freaking Senko and just let it sit there. And I still didn't do it. I did it for like
they seem to just want an easy meal. They're hungry, but they want an easy meal.
Well, they're tired. They're exhausted from spawn.
Yep.
They'll eat something that just floats in their face. They don't want to chase anything. Brent, what do you do?
Golf. No. No.
You got a Rush Creek players card. He's got to get his money's worth.
Why do you think I got the polo on today? No. So I do similar to Nick. Frogs. I throw a lot of, of course, wacky rigs. I fish places that I don't normally fish. I don't normally fish docks. Docks are great. Inside weed lines are a big go-to for me for post spawn. That's probably my number one thing that I look for. Go drive around the lake or whatever, look for those breaks and find that inside weed line. That's where I'll start post spawn, is looking for those inside weed lines, and I'll just parallel them. I'll just sit there, and it's crazy how many times if you just go on the trolling motor and look down on those inside weed lines, those fish are just, their noses are sticking out, or they're just, half of them are sticking out or whatever. But that's probably my number one, is a wacky rig on an inside weed line, or I will force it out deep. I'll just wait for those first couple fish to come to me and figure it out, because that's what I'd much rather be doing. And it gives me a little glimmer of hope if I go out to some rocks. Nick and I fished a little Tuesday nighter last year, and it was post spawn, and a guy caught it was like, was it 5'10" or was it 6'4"? It was a giant fish, but it's the only fish he caught.
Yep.
Like, I'm okay with that. Like, if that's all that's out on those rocks, I'm fine. I'll go catch that fish, and he's the only one out there. So be it, right? But to your point, Tony, I don't love doing it either, but you just got to slow down and fish the dumbest looking stuff you can, the junk, right? You just find a stick sticking out of the water, or a stump. It's just little targets that they just kind of stop at. So, like I said, but my number one is definitely inside weed lines.
Yeah, that's why I love Mille Lacs right now. Like, between opener and when like post spawn is in full force, you go to Mille Lacs, there's still fish in like every stage. There's still pre-spawners coming in. There's still fish on beds, and then you're catching post spawners on top water.
Yeah.
You got from opener until like end of June, where you can go out there and absolutely crush them, and you don't have a post spawn funk. You
can chase the spawn too, right? If it's post spawn here, if I drive way up north, it's going to be pre-spawn or spawn. If I drive way south, it's going to be summertime, right? So if you really don't like doing it, nobody says you have to. You got gas in your truck, you can go too, right? So there's opportunities to get away from it. But absolutely, to better yourself as an angler, you should probably try it.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to say. You know, if I was a tournament angler and I needed to improve, which I probably do need to improve, like that time period between the end of May, beginning of June, and the end of June, like I'd force myself to fish that wacky rig. You know, Ned rig, wacky rig, whatever. Super slow, but man, I hate it. You know,
we are disagreeing with you on that.
No, I know, but it's funny because you know, we have posts on the BassHeads page. You know, what's your favorite technique? And people say wacky rig Cinco, and I want to like jump through the screen and smack them and be like, "What the f is wrong with you? Like, do you not like getting a fish on a frog or a chatterbait or a jig? Why would you want to?" Why is your favorite technique a freaking Cinco? Just let me.
Nobody will ever argue that a wacky rig Senko doesn't catch fish.
God.
Catch drop shot, wacky rig Senko are probably 1 and 2 for if there's a fish there, he's probably going to eat one of these two things, right? There's no denying that. It's just
absolutely.
You know, I get in and start fishing shallow and it's windy and that line starts like, get me out of here.
Yeah. And I think that's why people like it, you know, and say it's their favorite way of fishing because it absolutely catches the snot out of fish from the beginning of the season until the end of the season.
Yeah.
If you take a kid out fishing that's barely ever fished, you're going to throw a freaking Cinco on there.
Right.
Just throw it out and say, just let it sit there and good chance they're going to get a fish.
Yep. For sure.
But, so yeah, that's kind of how these two don't listen to me on how to approach post spawn fishing because I don't do it. You know, take those approaches a little bit. The one segment
docks are phenomenal. Don't overlook docks are.
No,
I mean those fish spawn inside of docks or on those shorelines. You know, you get a good dock lake. Docks are phenomenal post spawn,
and I will.
And you don't have to dissect them, right? You're just,
right.
I mean, I got three beds right now on my dock.
Right. And when those fish are done, they're going to probably stay around your dock.
Exactly.
Right. But like both of you guys said, the one thing I will have tied on, and I usually do catch my biggest fish during post spawn is a frog.
Yeah.
They'll eat the crap out of a frog during
fish it slow.
Post spawn.
That's all I'd say. Popping frog and fish it slow.
Oh, popping frog is my jam too. That black and yellow Spro popping frog. I love that thing. Well, let's move on to the next segment, which we've had both, you know, in all of our episodes is what's in your cart, what you're excited for, what you bought this week. I'm going to go first because I'm super jacked about. There's 3 things I got in my cart this week. 2 are the same thing, but Mega Bass came out with that Northern Secret color that everybody just goes nuts about. They make it
already in my cart.
It's already.
I'm adding it right now.
You can't even get it anywhere anymore. It's a limited color. They only released it to a few stores. I actually had to. One of the stores posted on their Facebook, or the Megabass group posted on their Facebook, that these colors will be going live at like 9 a.m. or something like that. And before I could check out, they were completely sold out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And
What's
then
the
I
color
found it's called Northern Secret. They make it in the Vision 110 +1 Junior, but they don't make it in the regular 110. So it's a limited color. And then I found out a tackle shop in Kentucky had a bunch of them, and the only way you could place an order is if you call them. They didn't have like online or anything. So I called them up, and sure enough, I got that Northern Secret. And then the other one that's really hard to find sometime is called Spawn Cherry. I don't know if you guys can see that too.
Dude, is that literally? Yes.
Yes. But they don't make it in the regular 110.
Yeah,
that's
they do.
The hard part. They do now. It's a special edition, but they make it in the 110 +1 Junior.
Got it.
And then the other thing I had to add, Spro Rock Crawler and the Phantom Watermelon. I had one of them and I almost lost it. And this is what I got the 6.6 Smalley on Mille Lacs.
Nice.
I came home and immediately ordered
yeah.
another one because I'm like, if I lose that thing, I'm gonna be pissed.
That bait is gonna have a spot in your heart the rest of your
Yes,
life.
it is. Well, the hard part is I'm gonna keep throwing it and probably won't catch another goddamn big one on it for the rest of my life.
Yep.
But
Yep.
those are my what was in my cart this week.
Well, that's kind of funny because that leads into mine as well, the same color. So I ordered this is the plus one, but then I also got the regular version as well when it was the limited edition. Reed's always on top of it. One of my fishing partners, he always shoots me a text, and I think the reason he does that is he knows I'll load up on him, and if I ever want to sell him, he's the first one that'll have the offer. But
right. Or if he's in your boat, like I know you got
right.
Yeah, I know what you got.
Yeah.
I know what you got. So this is what I was throwing. I went up Monday to Mille Lacs for the second time trying to get redemption. Like I said, I was on the walleye for opener and went up there and got quite a few on the jerk bait. That kind of leads into my second one. Just got my package today from Omnia. So I was talking with Tony on the way back from my trip, and it was pretty slick calm out there. And I'm kind of hard-headed. If I'm catching fish on a bait, I'm going to probably keep it tied on. But I think in those conditions, being slick calm, I should have probably thrown a fluke on. Might have gotten a few more bites, maybe a bigger bite, who knows. But I did see a lot of fish that were reluctant to bite on my graph. So next one, caffeine shad. I mean, I like the normal fluke, the OG, but I do like the caffeine shad just a little bit more if I want it to sink faster. It just seems like it's a little bit more dense of a bait. It's got a little bit more action in my opinion. And I mean, is there a better color? Arkansas Shiner is pretty good for the fluke, but the KVD Magic, hard to beat that color. So loaded up on these. They're on sale at Omnia right now. So got 3 or 4 packs.
The one thing I will add to that is that you alluded to, and I, from fishing Mille Lacs for quite a few years and experiencing those slick calm conditions, and I've had it a couple times at this time of year. One of the, I threw a wacky rig, and it was a wacky rig missile baits, the 48 worm. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Yep, we got
it's kind of weighted on both sides, and that thing falls with such a good. It's my favorite, like Nico rig worm you can throw. But I was back in an area where there were wolf packs of giant smallies, and I'd get 1 or 2 on a jerk bait. They would bite nothing else. Finally, I was like, I'm just gonna throw a wacky rig and see what happens. And it was like kind of a clear white, salt and pepper color, whatever. I threw that out there, and for 2 hours, I caught fish after fish on it after going like an hour of trying to catch them on like a spinnerbait and jerkbait. And they were just crushing this thing. I caught a 514. I caught a 5. I think I had upper, it was over 26 pounds, best 5, and 2 feet of water on these wolf packs. And it was slick calm. So for the people that are up there that are chasing those wolf packs, when it is super calm out, try a fluke. I know that works. Wacky rigs, light colored Cinco, or bomb a hair jig at them, or soaking that, something like that.
That was like the light bulb moment. Like you texted me that idea, and we have so many baits and setups in our boat. But like right when you said wacky rig, I'm like,
damn it.
No, I want to turn around. I got to get home to the kids. But like,
right.
Yeah, that's one of my downfalls is I don't keep more of an open mind when it comes to retying. Or
I think that's a lot of us though too. Like we're stuck in our ways. We like what. Yeah, absolutely. What you got, Brent? Anything?
Yeah. So I don't have anything in my cart, but I do have. I'm pretty excited. I just got a new. So I have in my boat I run lithium batteries, and I just upgraded my 100 amp hour lithium that I run my locators on to 160 amp hour lithium when we were out on
What?
When we were out on Okoboji, my batteries didn't do great on that first day, so I run 5 graphs and active target and all those deals, so it wears on them. But I just upgraded to 160 amp hours, so I'm excited to never ever be worried about my graphs ever dying. It's an amped lithium, and they're phenomenal batteries. But I'm just, in the back of my mind with 5 graphs, it's like, is this going to make it? Is this going to make it? And I was ready to do some other stuff, and now it's like, okay, I never have to worry about my batteries dying again. So I'm pretty stoked about just not having to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to jump on the lithium wagon here sooner or later. But
and then I also I don't have it yet, but they're shipping to me. So Shimano makes jerk baits. They make a World Minnow and a World Diver. They're really cool jerk baits. They got a little shimmer deal in them. Well, we came out with a new one. It's called a Zimverno. It's a little 95 size, so it's a smaller size with 3 hooks, which I like small jerk baits with 3 hooks. A lot of them have 2 hooks, but I prefer 3. But so I'm just excited to have that smaller profile, a little dartier jerk bait from the Shimano, because that's a pretty cool deal that has that flash in it. So but that should be here, I'm hoping, before the weekend. So I'm trying to sneak up to Mille Lacs this weekend, so we'll see.
nice. All right. We're over an hour right now, so I think we're going to wrap up. Again, huge thank you to Cory and Wyatt for jumping on and talking about their Derby win. Like we said, that is not an easy task.
No.
Is there 80 teams this year?
I know they upped it. I think
75, 80 teams this year, and we're able to get that win. It is their home water, but that makes it even more challenging and
For sure.
a lot of pressure to take a win on there. So props to them. Thanks for jumping on the podcast and talking to us a little bit about river fishing. And hopefully next time we jump on is in a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, when we've all had a chance to kind of get out on some of our local metro lakes, kind of see how the fishing's going for the green ones. I'll be up at Mille Lacs for Memorial Week, and I'll be up there for 4 days chasing those big browns again. It's hard to say, but it's just like I want another 6-pounder so bad.
Right.
It's hard.
And
it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, but
now's the time, right?
it is.
Yeah, that for a lot of us, that lake struggles in the summer. So May, June it's go time, right? So we forget about it in July, August, and part of September, but now's the time to make it.
Yeah,
if you can.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it there. Good seeing you, boys, and have a good Memorial weekend, and we will get another episode going in the next couple weeks.
All right.
Sounds
See you,
good.
boys.
All right.
See you, boys.